Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode where we examine the possibility that a map exploring, I think map exploring is the number one thing, really. That's why I showed this intro. When we do another Chrono Trigger, we do not need too much more story. In fact, the story is finished when this starts. This is about gameplay and about the story is based on your condition. For instance, say that you partner up Chrono and Frog and they they tech up quite a bit together. And then, my friends, you have what could be known as uh one potential storyline. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just playing around. But I wanted to do like the most impromptu episode possible. So that is why we are looking at this. Let's take a look at our resources. Here we have this. And what does that one say? Here we go. Maybe we could address the topics that we're going to talk about today. On one hand, you have a very abstract quote, which represents the multi-dimensionality, multiple dimensions aspect. We're talking about tangibles here today. And what does a tangible mean for multi-dimensional gameplay? Oh, this one's different. Let's see if we can put that one here. Please. Yes. Okay, man. Won't be needing you. Okay. So you're going to have a map. And that map is going to look something like something like something like this, where you have a lot of Chrono Trigger style maps, but there's some. Is it fog or is it a glitch? Or is that feature turned off completely? In this example, you have this line which divides this area, and you've got a ghostly Luca and Robo here, which implies that if this is the present moment when the game is happening, it is possible to blend over into the time where she's interacting with the world. This was mainly conceptual, but it's a beginning of the kind of overworld we could do. And so then you get the trippy feature of seeing that the map that you were on was actually like a crazy floating island in the sky. And that even the map has an edge. And so you're combining Dead Sea weirdness in Chrono Cross with the floating islands of Zeal concept. See, down there is a different island, a different map. Now, maybe that different layer is actually another dimension? I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas about what the overworld might look like. Something like that. And all the main storyline has happened. Oh, you know what I didn't do this whole time? I'm sorry, I meant to turn up the music. This music is brought to us by the one and only Lovey. His YouTube channel, he's a musical engineer, and he made this song using only the sound effects available in Chrono Trigger, the MIDI files. So it's like an original song that comes from the DNA of Chrono Trigger, which is exactly the design principles that we are using. If we were to say, Mr. Armor Project, Yuji Horii, Sato Kato, Hanaguchi, if anyone has the ability to make a game based on this idea, we can talk about these three aspects very quickly. The first aspect, assets, is easy. We would just do exactly as this song has done, where you break down all the pieces of Chrono Trigger. Those are your assets. So that's step number one. Money. Since we're only trying to enhance the combat engine of Chrono Trigger and throw in a couple more menu mechanics, I don't know. It seemed like it would be pretty easy to program a 16-bit game these days, because that's essentially what we'd be doing, with the component of having a procedurally generated map, 16-bit map. And then the time, I think within 2 to 3 years. Could have a demo in a year, and in 2 to 3 years, the working first version of, and then in 2 more years after that, the final version. 100%. So those notes were there. Next notes. Oh, we were talking about dimension. So, if that is one map, then you could have, like, let's pretend perfect. Okay, let's say that this is, the map for Dimension 1. And there would be more islands, and here, this will help sell the illusion. We'll take this one. All right, so it keeps going. And you can explore all throughout. And then you have time gates. So this is naturally occurring. Like there's an attack over here, okay? So he's up here. Similar to this video. All right, and because of there's an attack happening here, and because of time being broken and anti-annihilation energy causes time gates to appear when there's major catastrophe. It was an oddly noticed, story-driven thing from Chrono Trigger that we could, pivot and make it, for story purposes, used as a way to get gameplay where catastrophe is about to go down, and so the time gate appears. There's some awful catastrophe happening here. So the planet and anti-annihilation energy are sort of like a life-positive force that prevents catastrophe. So it would cause, in traditional Chrono Trigger, hold on, I got an idea here. Let's take a brief break. I'll be back in a second. Okay, let's imagine that we're in the middle of our game. And this is what it looks like. We've got our okay. Very nice. Then we have here let's pretend this is traditional Chrono Trigger. And this chrono is not there. This is 2300, or this is some year. And whatever year it is, 1999 is a good example. That's what happened in Chrono Trigger. Lavos attacks the planet. big time. So this is 1999. All right. And the party is in... Oh, my bad. The party is in, let's say it's 12,000. Please work. Thick. Okay. So in traditional Chrono Trigger, you're in 12,000. Some disaster happens. In the normal way of the universe, the planet will, through this causes a catastrophe. So the planet causes anti-annihilation energy to form a time gate. Okay. So, Lavos attacks, planet forms a time gate, and then someone goes in there and can prevent the catastrophe. However, in the break after Fate has had its, and that is a confined world. You know, that's traditional Chrono Trigger format. But now you have the break where you have an infinite map, and time is broken because of the repeated time crash that Fate did. So now when you have crazy Lavos attacking this area, who knows what part of time this little patch of land is. So what happens is the planet now makes time gates in what seems to be the same time map. Before, time maps looked like this. You knew, like, okay, now I'm in 12,000. Now I'm in 1999. But this game, thanks to Fate's meddlings, for all you know, this is 1999. Actually, that would be the other way around. But this patch of land is actually 1999 as far as the planet thinks. Boy, am I glad that we have got our handy dandy time crash reference sheet on hand. And it looks something like this. Easy to read, full on. So this is the main part that we want to focus on. Because of all the repeated time crashes on the break, our new overworld looks like, as far as the coordinates go, time is everywhere. Like this patch of land is 99. This patch of land is 12,000. So whereas in the old dynamic, you know, this looks like a time zone. Now our map looks like this. And if something bad happens here, with this Lavos attacking, you know, causing a catastrophe, the anti-annihilation energy of the planet will still create a time gate, but now the time gate just pops out over here on this plane of the map because time and space are broken. So now time gates are actually just teleportation around the map. Functionals. They're used to teleport around the map. And now, furthermore, what you get is this could be sort of the same. Like say for instance we're operating in the new paradigm, and this island is sort of like 12,000 BC. And finally we get to explaining how the dimensions... Oh, my bad then. See? Let's say that's 65 million. And now this is... I don't know if I have... Oh man. This is another dimension. Alright. Oh wait, that just said so close. Setting dimension. Take a guess. Perfect. This is gonna look amazing. Boom and boom. I'm sorry that I sometimes say boom when I'm not actually doing anything on the presentation, because that'll make you seem like you're supposed to be seeing something, but okay, finally. So this, in this particular game, your maps would look like this. It's easy to talk about a game where you go through time and space and dimension on a 16-bit plane, but what it actually looks like is similar to this. Now these maps are designated by time points. So anything you do over here in this portion of the map will affect this portion of the map. You're just cutting out the middleman of having to jump in time with the epoch like you did in Chrono Trigger. And then when you switch dimension with a few methods, but let's be honest, the most I don't know what I'm trying to say, common, got this and this, which as I said would probably not look like this. It just has similar functionality, that's why it's green. And that is the ash tier as developed by like weird alternate Luca. So she made this thing called the ash tier, which is like allows for some trans-dimensional travel. But it's not connected to Lavos, so you can, if you put it in the into Fate, you can purify Fate's system by giving it trans-dimensional travel, but also abilities, but also not corrupted by Lavos. If that makes any sense. So ideally, you would install the ash tier in Fate if you wanted to like turn it into a good Fate. I got a whole bunch more on that later. I don't want to get too off topic. But this is kind of what it would look like. See what other things we got going on. Okay. Okie doke, that just popped up a lot. Let's start with this first one up here. Okay, the main goals of this project are to essentially fuse Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger so that all the loose ends and outlying plot points synthesize a game board where we can carry out a combat-driven, open world, procedurally generated, team building RPG meets beat 'em up that totally makes sense because there's a game back in the day called Adventure. It was for like Atari or something. And dude, this game was just a block going around doing things that caused other things to happen. There was hardly any backstory, there was no text. And that's what we want. We want all the story has previously happened. That's what that's what that long movie is about on the channel. All this happened, the lore has happened essentially, and now all the canon is finished, and only the gameplay is what makes up the final piece of the story and how it plays out every time you go through a game that could take as little as 2 hours to complete, but could also go on to infinity because of we are going to focus on gameplay and deepen the existing gameplay mechanics of Chrono Trigger. And after the 2-hour mark, after you beat Fate and get your way into the overworld, your end game is basically upon you, my friends. You're simply going to focus on what might also not be called the end game, but simply the game. You'll just focus on the game, which is ND game. You'll focus on ND game. Indie game? I don't know anything about that because I really don't. Okay. Party maintenance. Map exploration and party building. See how I included party 2 times? That's why it's so important. It's so important, dude. Getting into the guest does seem, the whole party mechanics does seem like a lot for right now. I kind of want to keep it limited to just what we can handle on the screen. So let's see what else we got. We have this. Oh yeah, perfect. This is what we wanted, party management. So let's say that these 3 play together quite often. Then they develop a skill set where they get good at, hanging out with each other. So their skills develop well together. So as I was mentioning, you start a new game, and within a short amount of time, especially if you've been playing before, you can be back to the Vision Serpent and about ready to sort of start your character journey again. So let's say you're pretty much organized after and you have your parties like lined up like this. Can't click on her. All right. And so you kind of line your parties up like this, and then in this playthrough, let's say that one of these guys, they team up and they influence how they play together. Teammates who fight together will often demonstrate their bond. They may randomly heal each other or remove a debuff automatically, or they may share an increased rate of critical attacks, critical damage when they do their attacks. Stuff like that, I think, would be tight. That's why you have party building as such a big thing. Okay, so this one looks pretty good. Go back to this. So really the dimension would say keystone, and but it also doesn't even have to be a dimension, because if you're in the break, what dimension is that? I think that's the broken dimension. Huh. Anyway, let's see what else we got over here. Oh, I remember. We were going to talk about that quote. It was beyond their notice or reach. There's a heartfelt tragedy there about a friend adventurers who are saving time and space without knowing about each other's impact. This isn't a mysterious quote. For some reason, I felt it worked well with the idea of like traveling beyond dimensions, specifically for one particular part, like right before the Vision Serpent, where you can choose who goes to face, and then certain story decisions. If you don't bring, like if you take Chrono but leave Marl behind, then story beats can play out that are weird. I'm gonna have to come back to that, I think. Hey, what's up, Groof? I gotta get this chat looking better. Okay, this one we took a look at already. This is about the party guests. A fourth uncontrollable, usually OP guest may at times be recruited to aid in progression through difficult regions. So map exploration being a huge thing, and summons and party guests are helpful. Push into deep areas of the map. Hold on, I'm trying to find the where'd the chat go? Oh. Very good, man. Very good. We are doing our best here. But yeah, I was saying the lore is revealed in the game. I think it'd be best if it was revealed like very, very low key. And you don't really have to, you never have to sit through any cutscenes or anything, similar to the old school games. Let's see what else we got over here. Oh, wait, that is also the chat. Okay, and this one? Seen that? This one? So this is the lore as it happened in between this game and Chrono Cross. This movie, in case you haven't seen it on the channel. I'd like to do an abridged version of it. I think that would take a long time though. But here's kind of a version. Like, here you have a theory that Luca's death was never confirmed, so she lived. She was a prisoner on Chronopolis. And yeah, Lynx wanted her to unlock the lock on the frozen flame. This is all stuff that we know. Then she escapes. Then she goes back in time. Stuff like that. Okay. Let's see what else we got going on. What kind of notes do we have for today? This place doesn't have any music. There we go. All right, so let's take another look at these notes about the tone. Chrono Cross led to certain story choices by connecting. Oh, Chrono Cross's influence. Many story choices in this project came from connecting the dots to Chrono Cross. Oh yeah, and there were some small changes with regards to dimensionality, which is a very long topic, but essentially the dimensions and timelines are essentially the same. And so what you had in Chrono Cross, oh, this finally makes so much sense. So in Chrono Cross, what you had was two timelines that were actually intersecting. That's another reason why it could be called Chrono Cross. Huh. If you interpret it that way. Let's see, I know we got some notes on this. Let's take a look. All right, getting into the notes on the dimensionality. I think it's time to do that. Okay. So what we have is a collection of okay, dimensionality has to be a topic for a whole day. I think that might be what we have to talk about next time, just everything about the dimensions. So for today, it's important enough just to say that it looks like this. Let's get that frozen flame out of there. So this is what the overworld looks like. And then when you switch into a different dimension, it's just like a different map. It would just look like this, and it would say a different dimension up there. It would say Keystone, but it would not say 65 million. Because 65 million would actually be like around here, hovering over the landscape. Alrighty. I think we've covered all the details for today. I am pretty beat. So I'm going to say thank you for joining me, and I plan to... Today was the prototype of learning how to do a very impromptu one, and I think it turned out okay. So hopefully I'll be doing a lot more impromptu sessions later, and we'll be reviewing... there's pretty much only like a few more topics that we need to cover. before they're all covered. But let's just say in the next month, we're going to do this month will be about the whole topic of the landscape and fleshing out some locations in the break that we're just exploring that world and seeing what that would be like. So, thanks for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I will definitely be checking on you next time.